Welcome to The Explainer. So, have you ever found yourself just staring at a spreadsheet so massive, so chaotic, that it literally makes your eyes cross? Or maybe you've watched a team project mysteriously derail for like the 5th time this month, and everyone's just pointing fingers because nobody actually knows what went wrong. Well, that right there is modern operational chaos. Today we're uncovering the core promise behind Dr. Kaoru Ishikawa's legendary 7 quality control tools to fix exactly that. Specifically, we're going to unlock the power of 2 highly underutilized frameworks, stratification and flowcharts. Listen, if you feel like you're constantly just treating the symptoms of a problem rather than curing the actual disease, you are in the exact right place. We're going to break down how you can use these frameworks to solve complex, deeply rooted problems across literally any industry.
Okay, let's dive into this. Here is our clean, simple roadmap for tackling operational chaos today. We'll start off with the 95% quality promise, then we'll meet our underdog tool, stratification. After that, we'll look at visualizing process with flowcharts, figure out how to go about solving problems across sectors, and finally, mastering the tool today.
All right, Section 1, the 95% quality promise. Let's look at the incredibly bold claim that started this whole thing.
So, back in the 1960s, Japanese quality guru Dr. Kaoru Ishikawa formalized 7 basic, highly visual tools for quality control. They were designed to be so intuitive that anyone, from the folks on the factory floor all the way up to the executive suite, could easily use them. And he made this legendary claim. He stated that these 7 simple tools, if used skillfully, could solve 95% of workplace problems. But I really want to pose this question directly to you. Do you think 7 simple tools can really solve 95% of your modern, highly complex workplace problems? Well, let's see what the data actually has to say about it.
A massive global study conducted by the University of Galway surveyed over 400 senior quality professionals across 5 different continents. And honestly, what they found was genuinely shocking. Today, less than 25% of modern professionals actually believe that these tools can solve 95% of their problems. And even more alarming, the study revealed that a massive 40% of quality professionals globally admit to applying these tools incorrectly right out of the gate. I mean, why is this happening? It's because the modern workplace moves so much faster and spans these invisible digital borders, which is entirely unlike the physical factory floors of the 1960s. We're trying to use these tools like a 1960s hammer on a 2024 digital screw. Basically, we're using the wrong tools at the wrong time, and we're entirely missing out on their true potential.
Moving right along to Section 2, meet the underdog stratification.
While tools like the Pareto chart are globally popular, that same University of Galway study found that stratification is actually one of the least utilized tools across all continents. But here's the thing, it is incredibly powerful. Stratification is basically a technique that separates data gathered from a variety of sources into meaningful categories so hidden patterns can be seen. Think of it kind of like doing your laundry. If you just grab a massive mixed basket of clothes, whites, darks, and, those bright red socks, and throw them all into a hot wash together, you are absolutely going to ruin half your wardrobe. You have to sort that laundry into meaningful buckets first. That is exactly what stratification does for your data. It separates the chaotic pile into highly specific buckets so you can actually find the hidden root cause of a problem.
And this comparison brilliantly illustrates why we need it. Think about aggregated data. This is the stuff most managers look at every single day, a messy, confusing lump of mixed sources. It tells you, hey, your defect rate is up, or customer complaints just spiked, but it fundamentally fails to tell you why. Stratified data, however, it's clean. It's deliberately categorized by specific variables. You break it down by the work shift, the specific department, the geographic region, or even the exact piece of equipment being used. Without stratification, aggregated data is constantly going to lead you to misleading conclusions and a whole lot of wasted effort. Let's see how this plays out in a real-world scenario. Now, what's really interesting here is this case study from an electronics company. They were dealing with a massive, unexplainable rise in product rejections. Now, if they had just relied on their aggregated data, they probably would have initiated some wildly costly retraining program for their entire staff, or maybe spent hundreds of thousands of dollars buying brand new manufacturing equipment. But instead, they stratified the data by production shift, and boom, they discovered that a whopping 80% of the errors were hiding exclusively in the night shift. Stratification pointed them exactly to where the focused intervention was needed. That one simple move saved them massive amounts of time, morale, and money. Which brings us to Section 3, visualizing process with flowcharts. Because once stratification tells you where the problem is hiding, the flowchart steps in to tell you exactly how the process is breaking down. I absolutely love this quote from our source material. It says, "Draw a flowchart for whatever you do. Until you do not know what you are doing, you just have a job." Ouch. A little harsh, right? But honestly, it's totally true. A flowchart isn't technically one of Ishikawa's original 7 tools, but it is universally used alongside them because it is an absolute necessity for mapping out step-by-step actions. Without it, you are literally just guessing at where your inefficiencies lie.
Take a look at this typical test plan creation process. Notice the structure we've got here. We use rectangles to clearly define straightforward actions, things like receive client documentation or prepare detailed test cases. Simple enough. But the real magic? That happens at the diamonds. The diamonds represent decisions. When you hit a diamond that asks for client approval and the answer is no, the arrow loops all the way back around to rewrite/update. Just imagine how devastating that invisible rework loop is to a team's morale if it happens 5 times a week. By mapping a process out like this, you cleanly and immediately expose these rework loops, these bottlenecks, and these error-prone steps that are otherwise completely invisible in your daily routine.
All right, Section 4, solving problems across sectors. Because a really common misconception is that these tools are only useful for old-school factory floors.
These tools provide a remarkably universal framework. In electronics, we just saw how they're used for production shift mapping. In healthcare, they're using them to stratify patient discharge delays, figuring out if the real bottleneck is insurance paperwork, doctor availability, or just miscommunication. So, the absolute crucial point here is this. That Galway study found that the IT and finance sectors currently use these tools the least, and that is a huge missed opportunity. Think about IT. If you're debugging software or dealing with server downtimes, you don't just stare at the aggregate downtime. You stratify those error logs by region, by server type, or by peak traffic hours. Then you flowchart your deployment process to see exactly where that buggy code is slipping through the cracks. Or what about finance? If quarter-end reporting is always brutally late, stratifying the data might show the delays always come from one specific department. Flowcharting the expense process might reveal that a single CFO approval diamond is the ultimate bottleneck. Categorizing your data and mapping your flow is universal. It really doesn't matter if your product is a microchip, a line of code, or a complex financial portfolio.
And finally, Section 5, mastering the tool today. Let's make absolutely sure you aren't part of that 40% who apply these quality tools incorrectly.
So here is your highly structured, actionable game plan drawn straight from the 7 steps of quality. First, identify the metric. What exactly is going wrong in your workflow? Second, gathered grouped metadata. Don't just track that an error occurred, you need to track the who, the when, and the where. Third, analyze those subgroups using stratification to find your outliers. And fourth, implement localized fixes. Seriously, don't upend the whole system if only one tiny segment is broken. And remember our cross-sector focus here. These localized fixes apply whether you're fixing a night shift manufacturing issue, patching a software bug deployed by a specific offshore IT team, or streamlining a healthcare discharge protocol. If you follow these 4 steps, you will bring order to the chaos.
I want to leave you all with this final, somewhat provocative thought. Are your biggest operational problems actually just symptoms of unstratified data? The very next time you're facing a massive roadblock, before you throw out the whole process or blame your entire team, ask yourself if you just need to put your data into better buckets and map out your flow. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. Now go out there and look at your own chaotic data a little bit differently.